And I noticed that I lost weight. I went down a couple of pant sizes within 6 months of really focusing on eating more plants and beans and all the things that are grown in the ground. So the better I felt, my cholesterol problems went away, my blood pressure normalized, and I made that connection because I wanted to be healthy mentally, spiritually, and physically. And going down that path really, really inspired me to have the courage to take this plant-based life the whole way.
Welcome to the Plant-Based Eating Made Easy podcast. I'm your host, Anna Zinn, plant-based registered dietitian and transition coach. Hi, friend. Do you want to regain your health with plant-based eating but feel overwhelmed and lost about how to do it? Do you feel it'll be hard to change your meat-heavy diet and impossible with working, running the home, or chasing after the grandkids? If so, you're in the right place. Here you'll find simple strategies, clear nutrition guidance, and practical tips to help you thrive plant-powered with more energy. So if you're ready to ditch the guesswork and transform your health the stress-free way, cozy up now with a hot cup of tea or listen while you walk, and let me show you how doable plant-based eating can be. Let's do this. Hi, friend. I'm happy today to welcome Diane Randall to the Plant-Based Eating Made Easy podcast. Diane is an author, whole living consultant, instructor, and speaker. With over 20 years of experience as a whole living consultant, Diane is committed to helping busy individuals achieve overall well-being. She focuses on creating harmony, holistic wellness, promoting self-care, and embracing a plant-based lifestyle, empowering individuals to make healthy choices every day. Hello, Diane. It's great to have you here with us today. Let's start by diving into your personal journey to wellness. What was your eating and health like initially before you made changes to your eating and lifestyle?
Well, I like to start back to my childhood. I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. It's in the heart of the Midwest. Some people call it the South. It was the home of barbecue, everything fried, the traditional standard American diet. But I always like to go back to when I was 9 years old. My parents let me go to visit my great grandparents in Mississippi on their farm. And one day I saw a chicken get killed. And let me say, that experience made my 9-year-old self think. I witnessed that moment and it had a profound effect on me. My great grandfather killed the chicken for dinner. And I like to say it completely changed my perspective on where our food comes from and how animals are treated in the process. I think that was the first time I made the connection between animals and food. And it really shaped my views. However, I did not become plant-based at that time because as soon as I got back home, life was normal. But once I got to adulthood, I would say in my mid-20s to early 30s, I had high blood pressure, I had high cholesterol, I had a lot of gut issues on a daily basis. And those issues left me exhausted. I was also a young mom with 2 small children. I didn't know what was wrong with me, but I actually would go in and out of the hospital because the gut issues were that severe, but the doctors would always end up telling me that they couldn't find anything. But fast forward, I got a preliminary diagnosis of Crohn's disease from an upper gastrointestinal endoscopy. And that really made me worry because I was thinking all these years I've had these gut issues and nobody figured it out until I got the endoscopy. And luckily, when the doctor sent the specimen, I guess, from the gastro test, I did not have Crohn's. I did not have Crohn's, but that was enough to shake my world and also cause me to change and want to be healthy, whatever that meant. So, fast forward, I read books, I went to lectures, I talked to different doctors, and I would say I spent a lot of years letting go of things, not necessarily, oh, I'm on a plant based diet. I let go of sugary drinks. I let go of beef. I mean, that's how I started my journey because I knew what I needed to let go of, but I wasn't necessarily sure about what I was supposed to eat. So the switch to a plant-based diet, it wasn't an immediate transition. It was more of that gradual shift that took time to develop. And it started with the small changes. Like I just said, I gave up beef, I gave up Snapple, I gave up Coke. And while this isn't a big deal, it really ignited that transformation of my eating habits and my focus on my overall health. So, in a sense, it was a pivotal point in my life story. So this phase simply wasn't about just cutting out foods. It was really trying to learn, what do I need to eat? What do I need to do? So again, books, lectures, and I was lucky to meet a dietitian who also helped me open my eyes to fruits and vegetables and different foods I needed to eat. And I will say that going vegan came later because I was focused on my physical health. The veganism probably came 3 years later when I watched a documentary.
Thank you for sharing this, Diane. It was really helpful to hear your story right from the beginning and all those transformative experiences. So, what kind of symptoms with the gut issues were you having that caused you to go in and out of the hospital so much?
I had a lot of stomach aches and pressure in my chest. It would feel like someone was standing on my chest. I also had a lot of GERD. I had a lot of acid reflux. I mean, I'm really young having all this stuff. But what I also learned was that I was lactose intolerant as well. And I would go to the hospital because I thought I was having a heart attack, with the pressure in my chest. But it turns out it wasn't that. It was literally my diet, but I didn't even make the connection with the diet for a few years because the doctors would check me out and say, "Oh, we can't find anything." you know? So the recommendation would be to basically take it easy, and here's some antacids, right?
Yes, definitely. Usually, if they can't find a reason or a source, they would just medicate with medicine. So, for this journey that you are on towards healthier eating and eventually a vegan diet lifestyle, what were the first key changes you made?
I just want to tell you, I was a hardcore sugar addict. Okay. I ate a lot of sweets, donuts, cakes, desserts, a lot. And switching really helped me because mentally, I was very moody. I had a lot of brain fog, and I didn't even know that that was part of it. So, what I recognized was that I was wanting the sweets less and less. My mood swings had dissipated because part of that was my sugar levels dropping because I ate so much sugar. And when I would want the sugar, I'd have tunnel vision. It would be the only thing on my mind. So I always say that being a sugar addict took up a lot of space in my brain. It captured my brain. So I noticed that went away. I noticed my cravings dissipated. Even to this day, I do not have cravings for sugar. That was a byproduct of going plant-based because I never expected that to happen, but that was huge. And I noticed that I lost weight. I went down a couple of pant sizes within 6 months of really focusing on eating more plants and beans and all the things that are grown in the ground that don't have a mother, that don't have a face. So the better I felt, my cholesterol problems went away, my blood pressure normalized. And I made that connection because I wanted to be healthy mentally, spiritually, and physically. And going down that path really, really inspired me to dig deep and focus and have the courage to take this plant based life the whole way.
What wonderful changes. I think that's such a great byproduct of moving into plant based eating. That strong sugar addiction you had completely went away and has stayed away as you started focusing on the right foods and your mind started clearing and you didn't have so much of those mood swings as you were mentioning.
What I learned was the sugar addiction has a control, but once I let that go, I literally could choose what I wanted to eat. And that was different. And I love that even to this day. I like to know that I'm choosing my food.
Yes, it puts control back to you properly to be able to control what you have each day and what you can put onto your plate. You mentioned the cholesterol dropping and the blood pressure normalizing. That's so wonderful. What about your gut issues? Did that change?
See, the gut issues went away. It changed. Now, after the doctor said I may have Crohn's, he said I had a healed lesion in my stomach. So it wasn't that I thought I was scot free. He found something, right? So that was enough for me to say, I'm going to change. But when the gut issues, they definitely dissipated. Definitely the bloating, all that went away as well. And that's what has kept me focused and grounded because my why at the time was to be healthy. I had 2 children and I wanted to be around for those children. And I didn't want to be sick all the time. And also fearing that that could turn into something really, really serious.
Yes, I can imagine the anxiety at the time when you are dealing with all these health issues, yet still trying to take care of your children. So, since you made that first change to plant based eating, you have been vegan now for nearly 20 years. I'm sure it's been quite an adventure and a journey to be on. And in our prior conversations together, I know that as a consultant, you have a busy schedule and work life with frequent travels to other states and countries like Canada. So, what are some strategies you use to stay plant based when you're on the road traveling?
I travel, but not as much as I did before COVID. But here's what I do. When I found out I was going to a city, I would get online and look up plant based and vegan restaurants. And many years ago, there were no plant based and vegan restaurants, at least not on a consistent basis. So I would find a grocery store. I would at least try to find, I would plan out where I was going to go and eat. And sometimes I was in these little towns and I would go to the grocery store and go to the salad bar where they had vegetables because sometimes every city was different, especially if I was in the South. I may not have choices at that time. It's much different now. But I always looked online and not only did I find out where I was going to exercise and work out, but I would plan out where am I going to go and get food. And that was really helpful. And I would say in the recent years, I used to get plant food delivered from this company in California. It was plant based meals. And I would literally take those meals and put them in my suitcase. I would freeze them, put them in my suitcase, and that way I didn't have to worry about where I was gonna go eat because I don't like looking for food, you know? In some cities, especially little small towns, because I tended to have to go to small towns sometimes, I would take my food with me, and that way I didn't have to think about it. So, that made it pretty easy. But over time, there are grocery stores that you can go into. There are restaurants, and a lot of restaurants today, they may not be a vegan or plant-based restaurant, but they have options. So even today, I'll find out the best options if I can't find a vegan restaurant. Or like I said, I'll go to the grocery store and grab a few things. And sometimes, instead of just staying in a hotel with no kitchen, I've even gone as far as staying at a hotel that has a kitchen that looks like an apartment so that I can grab some vegetables and fix my own meals.
Those are great strategies. Thank you for sharing just from your experience traveling and working what you do. And those are smart pre planning steps that you've taken to really be intentional about it, to look online and see at that destination city what the available restaurants are that are vegan or plant based, or where the grocery store is and where you can work out. And that's such a smart idea to order some meals and freeze it and put it in your suitcase to bring with you as well.
Yeah, that really made things easier to just take it out when I go to the client, just take it with me. And by the time I eat it, it's unthawed. And I don't have to think about, okay, where am I going to go get some food? It's easier. I didn't even have to map it out. So I like that.
Yes, definitely. And you're right that nowadays it's actually easier to be plant based or to eat vegan and to stay plant based and vegan because there are a lot more options.
Absolutely. And I eat a lot of sides because if I go out with other people, other consultants, they may not necessarily be plant-based and and since I'm always the lone plant-based person typically, we're going to a regular restaurant. So I get some sides and pull them together. It's very easy to do today.
Yes, that's a great strategy. So, given your busy life and commitments, are there one or two other key things you do to help you stay plant based? Like maybe a specific meal prepping strategy or certain favorite quick meal fixes you like to make?
Well, what I do is I do meal prep. I may go and buy my vegetables on Saturday, or I think about what I'm going to eat. Maybe, as an example, lentils, Brussels sprouts, avocado, sweet potato, different peppers, onions. I just build a big bowl and I'll go and buy a bunch of veggies. I'll cut them all up and I'll store them in glass bowls in my refrigerator, and every day or every evening, sometimes I'll eat the raw bowl, but maybe one day I want to steam those vegetables and have a cooked bowl and maybe add some mixed greens to that bowl. So I've figured out, and I think too, I've been on this journey for so long that I don't have to mimic my traditional lifestyle because I used to have to do that. I needed a Seaton burger. I needed, a potato. I needed things that replicated what I ate in the past. But for the past, I'd say 10 years or 15 years, I just grab that bowl, put those veggies in there, and it is a great, great meal for me. And I'll do that for like 4 days, maybe. And then I may order from my favorite vegan restaurant one or two nights because I've learned also today, even with the vegan and plant based restaurants, some of them you have to really be careful as well. Things have changed so much.
You're right about that. Just because a restaurant says plant based or vegan, or even at the supermarket, if you're buying a product that is, a processed vegan product, it can say it's vegan, but it may not be still the best health item for you to eat. It might not be completely healthy for you to eat because they could have so much more added oil, sugars, and salts into that product. So, sticking to whole plant based foods is probably still the best thing to do. Now, let's switch gears a bit. I think you have a recent book that came out. It's called A Whole Life Nourished. So, congratulations on that. It seems to be on plant based living with a holistic approach. Could you tell us a little bit more about it?
Yes. The book is about bringing the mind, the body, and the spirit together in terms of knowing that it's more than what's on your plate. It's bigger than just being plant based. So, A Whole Life Nourishes has a lot of practical insights, and I give antidotes and information about environmental sustainability, actionable strategies to enhance physical health, emotional well being, and spiritual growth through not only mindful food choices, but also mindful choices on things you can do every day For example, I wake up, I do 15 minutes of yoga. At the end of the day, I may do 30 minutes of meditation. It's also about busting the myths about food in terms of what's plant-based, what's good for us, because I think that's important so that people can open their minds up to what's really plant-based and what's not, and what's going to harm us and what's not. I have recipes in the book. This book is a roadmap for anyone seeking to transition their life and nourish their whole well-being, whether you're plant-based, you don't have to be, or you're starting your wellness journey. This book has everything for everyone. And I talk a lot about the going vegan because some people don't understand how being plant-based fits in there or vice versa. So I really go through a lot of information talking about what does sustainability mean? What does it mean to go vegan? And I also have stories and case studies in the book. And I also have, at the end of the book, resources for people. You know, if you're on Instagram, and I have my favorite plant-based influencers who cook, who may eat. They've written books, so I put the best documentaries in the book. So basically, if you're someone who's interested in being more plant-based or you're just curious, my book, A Whole Life Nourished, really gives you all the information you need to become vegan from and plant-based from A to Z. I wanted to write this book because it's something that I wish I had as I navigated my journey, but I didn't. So part of it is to have the book, and also I have a podcast called Plant Based Curious. So thank you for allowing me to tell people about the book.
You're welcome. That's wonderful. So, how can listeners connect with you and also get this book if they are interested?
Listeners can connect with me on www.dianerandallconsults.com. You can go to the book tab on my website, or you can go to www.plantbasedcurious.com and you'll get the same information.
That's great, Diane. And I'll put the links to these resources in the show notes. So thank you so much, Diane, for telling us about your personal journey to wellness through plant-based eating. It is truly inspiring to hear. You've also shared some wonderful strategies and tips that I know will definitely help many of those listening. So thank you so much, Diane, for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me, Anna, and thank your listeners.
Thank you so much for listening. If this podcast has inspired, encouraged, or helped you in some way to transform your health, I would love to hear about it. Please take 30 seconds to rate and leave a written review on Apple Podcasts to let me know. It'll encourage me so much to hear how this podcast has positively impacted and made a difference in your journey towards wellness. And share about this podcast with a friend or loved one so we can all thrive in the best health. Remember, plant-based eating can be easy and doable. See you in the next episode, my friend.